You know, life moves real fast, man. Faster than we ever expect. One minute you're young, chasing dreams, trying to figure out life. And the next minute you're sitting here like an old dude, looking at old memories like they were yesterday. I remember the day my daughter was born. Man, that day changed everything for me. Before that, I thought I understood life. I thought I knew what responsibility meant. But the moment the nurse placed that tiny little baby in my arms, I realized I had no clue what I was doing. She was so small. So fragile. Her little fingers wrapped around mine like she was saying, "Hey Dad, don't let go." And I remember whispering to her, "Don't worry, kid, your dad's got you." Back then I thought being a father meant protecting her from the world. Making sure nobody hurt her. Making sure she always smiled. But nobody tells you the real truth about being a father. The truth is, your kids grow up faster than you're ready for. At first it's all diapers, sleepless nights, and baby cries at 3 a.m. You're walking around the house half asleep like a zombie, holding a bottle in one hand and praying the baby finally goes back to sleep. But then suddenly, those nights disappear. The crying stops. The diapers disappear. And your baby starts walking. Then talking. Then laughing. And before you even realize it, your little girl starts calling you her hero. Man, that word hits different. Because suddenly you feel like you gotta be strong all the time. You gotta be the guy who fixes everything. The guy who knows all the answers. But truth be told, most of the time I was just winging it, trying to figure things out day by day. Still, every single night before she slept, she'd hold my finger and smile like I was the greatest dad in the world. And that smile, that tiny little smile, made every struggle worth it. Back then I thought those days would last forever. But life doesn't work like that. Life keeps moving. And sometimes, it moves way too fast, because the little girl who once held my finger is now about to walk down the aisle. And man, I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. My daughter, she wasn't just my kid. She was my whole world. The moment she started walking, the house turned into her playground. Man, she had more energy than a whole army of kids. Running around, laughing, asking a million questions every single day. Dad, why is the sky blue? Dad, where do stars go in the daytime? Dad, are you the strongest man in the world? And of course I'd smile and say, "Yeah, kiddo, your dad's pretty strong." But deep down, I knew she was the one making me stronger. Every morning she'd run to the door when I left for work. "Bye, Dad. Don't forget my chocolate." Man, kids remember everything. And if I ever forgot, oh boy, she'd cross her arms like a tiny boss and say, "Dad, you promised." Those little moments, those small memories, they stay with you forever. I remember teaching her how to ride a bicycle. That day she was scared. She kept saying, "Dad, what if I fall?" And I told her, "Don't worry, kid. I got you." I held the back of that little bike and ran behind her down the street like a crazy man. Neighbors were laughing. I was sweating like I just ran a marathon. But she was smiling. And then, she started pedaling on her own. And suddenly she shouted, "Dad, look. I'm doing it." That moment, man, it felt like my heart was about to explode with pride. But here's the funny thing about being a father. Every moment when your child learns something new, it's beautiful. But it's also a tiny reminder that they're slowly growing up. And growing up means one thing. One day, they won't need you the same way anymore. But back then I didn't think about that. Back then she was just my little princess. The girl who believed her dad could fix anything. And honestly, I believed it too. Time is a tricky thing. When you're living the moment, it feels slow. Ordinary. Just another day in the life. But years later, when you look back, you realize those ordinary days were actually the best days of your life. My daughter grew up right in front of my eyes, but somehow I still missed how fast it happened. One moment she was a tiny kid holding my hand everywhere we went. The next moment she was putting on her little backpack and walking into her first day of school. I remember that morning like it was yesterday. She stood at the door with her tiny backpack, looking both excited and nervous. "Dad, will you wait here until I come back?" she asked. I laughed and said, "Kiddo, school doesn't take that long. I'll be right here later." But truth be told, when she walked into that school building, something inside me felt weird. It was the first time she stepped into the world without holding my hand. And man, that was tough. Every year after that, she changed a little more. She started making friends, learning new things, discovering who she was. Our house was always filled with her laughter, music, and sometimes a little drama when homework got too hard. Sometimes she'd come running to me after a bad day. "Dad, school is so hard." And I'd smile and say, "Nah, you're tougher than school. You got this." That was our thing. Every time life knocked her down, I reminded her she was stronger than the problem. But slowly, something started changing. She didn't need help tying her shoes anymore. She didn't ask me to carry her when she was tired. She started solving her own problems. And I realized something every parent eventually learns. Kids don't stay kids forever. They grow. They learn. They become their own person. And even though you're proud of them, there's a tiny part of your heart that wishes time would just slow down a little. Because the girl who once ran into my arms after school was slowly turning into a young woman with dreams of her own. And whether I liked it or not, life was moving forward. One evening, I remember sitting on the porch after a long day of work. The sun was setting, the air was calm, and everything felt peaceful for a moment. Then my daughter walked outside and sat next to me. Now, when you're a father, you learn to read your kid's face pretty well. And something about her expression told me this wasn't just a normal conversation. She looked nervous. "Dad, can I tell you something?" she said. Right away my heart started beating faster. You know how fathers are. Your mind instantly jumps to 100 different possibilities. "Sure, kiddo," I said, trying to stay calm. She looked down for a second, then smiled a little. "Dad, I met someone." "Man." I swear time paused for a second. In that moment, my brain was doing backflips. Because every father knows this day eventually comes, but you're never really ready for it. My little girl, the one who used to watch cartoons with me on Saturday mornings, was now talking about someone she loved. She started telling me about him. Said he was kind, respectful, hardworking. Said he treated her with care and always supported her dreams. I listened quietly. Part of me felt proud that she had grown into someone capable of loving another person. But another part of me, well, that part of me was still the dad who wanted to protect his little girl from the entire world. Finally I looked at her and said, "Does he make you happy?" She smiled. "Yeah, Dad, he really does." And that's when something clicked inside me. Being a father isn't about keeping your child close forever. It's about raising them strong enough to walk their own path. And even though my heart felt heavy that day, I knew my daughter was starting a new chapter in her life. A chapter where she didn't need her dad to hold her hand every step of the way. But no matter how old she got, she would always be my little girl. The wedding day finally came. And man, I'm not gonna lie, it hit me harder than I expected. The house was full of people that morning. Family members everywhere, cousins running around, aunties talking non-stop, music playing in the background. Everyone looked excited like it was the happiest day ever. And yeah, it was a happy day. But for a father, it's also one of the hardest days of his life. I remember standing in my room adjusting my suit, looking at myself in the mirror. I looked older than I remembered. A few more wrinkles. A few more gray hairs. And I thought to myself, dang, when did I become this old guy? But then I realized something. I didn't become old. Life just kept moving, and I was busy raising a daughter. A little while later someone came to get me. "Hey, the bride is ready." Man, my heart started beating like crazy. I walked into the room and saw her standing there in her wedding dress. And for a moment, I couldn't say anything. Because in front of me wasn't just a bride. In front of me was the same little girl who used to run into my arms after school. The same kid who once cried because she fell off her bicycle. The same little princess who used to say, "Dad, you're my hero." She looked at me and smiled. "Dad, how do I look?" I laughed a little and said, "Kid, you look amazing." But honestly, I was fighting back tears like a tough old dude trying not to lose it. Everyone always talks about the bride's big moment. But nobody talks about the father standing there, realizing his little girl is about to start a whole new life. Then it was time to walk down the aisle. I held her arm and we started walking slowly. Music was playing, people were smiling, cameras flashing everywhere. But for me, everything felt quiet. All I could think about were the memories. Her first steps. Her first day of school. The first time she called me Dad. And now here we were, walking toward the moment where I had to let her go. Life moves fast, man. Too fast sometimes. When we reached the end of the aisle, I saw the man who was about to become her husband standing there. He looked nervous. Honestly, I kinda liked that. Any man who isn't nervous about marrying my daughter probably doesn't understand how lucky he is. He shook my hand respectfully and said, "Thank you for everything, sir." And I could see in his eyes that he meant it. But then came the moment every father knows is coming. The moment that hits you right in the heart. My daughter turned toward me. Her eyes were shining with tears, but she was smiling. "Dad," she said softly. I didn't even realize I was holding her hand so tight. She hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for always being there for me." Man, that was it. That one sentence broke every wall I had built to stay strong. Because suddenly all the memories rushed back. Every late night when she was sick and I stayed awake beside her. Every time she needed advice. Every little moment when she needed her dad. And now, she was saying thank you like our journey together had reached a new chapter. I looked at her and said, "Kiddo, you don't need to thank me. Being your dad has been the greatest thing in my life." Then I placed her hand in her husband's hand. And that moment felt strange. Not sad exactly, but powerful. Because I realized something important. I wasn't losing my daughter. I was watching her build a new life. And even though she was starting her own family now, a father's love doesn't disappear. It just changes. After the ceremony ended, people were celebrating everywhere. Music, laughter, food, dancing. The whole place was alive with happiness. Everyone kept coming up to me. "Congratulations. You must be so proud." And yeah, I was proud. More proud than words could ever explain. My daughter had grown into a strong, kind, beautiful woman. But at the same time, something inside my heart felt different. It felt quiet. Because the little girl who once filled my house with toys, laughter, and endless questions was now starting a life somewhere else. Later that evening, she came to sit next to me again, just like she used to when she was younger. "Dad, you okay?" she asked. I laughed and said, "Yeah, kid, your old man is just thinking." She smiled and rested her head on my shoulder. For a moment, it felt like time had traveled backward. Like she was still that little kid watching cartoons beside me. But then she said something that stuck with me. "Dad, no matter where I go, this will always be my home." Man, hearing that meant everything. Because that's the thing about family. Homes change. Lives change. But love stays the same. And in that moment I realized something every father eventually understands. Letting go doesn't mean losing someone. It just means trusting that you raised them well enough to handle the world. Now here I am, sitting on this old chair, telling this story like some emotional old guy. And maybe I am that guy now. But if there's one thing life has taught me, it's this. Time doesn't wait. Kids grow up faster than we realize. One day they're asking you to tie their shoes. The next day they're walking down the aisle starting their own life. So if you're a father listening to this story, don't miss the small moments. Play with your kids. Listen to their silly stories. Answer their weird questions. Be there when they fall. Because those little moments, they become the biggest memories later. And one day, when you're standing at your daughter's wedding just like I was, you'll realize something beautiful. Your job as a father was never about holding on forever. It was about preparing her for the world. And if she walks into that world strong, kind, and full of love, then you did your job right. And no matter how old she gets, no matter where life takes her, she will always be your little girl.